Welcome back to our reading series of Beyond the Story 10-year record of BTS. Last time we covered the era of I Need You girl, that track. How breaking the rules of K-pop at the time helped BTS define their identity and how that victory created both joy and hostility, the hate train from antis. If you haven't checked it out, I will attach the link, so go check it out if you want to. Now today, in this video, we continue with the most beautiful moment in life part 2. And we'll be reading 3 connected sections within chapter 3. And those are Run, Sophomore Jinx, and Growth. Okay? And these passages show BTS in a critical moment. They're caught between success and backlash, and between public recognition and deep personal doubts. And most importantly, they're in the middle of figuring out who they were as artists. So, without further ado, let's dive in. Beyond the Story 10-year record of BTS, Chapter 3, Love, Hate, Army, Section, Run. The production of The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2 album had to take place in among all the excitement and support, as well as all the negativity directed toward the group. RM reflects, 2015 in itself was a trial for me. Whether we were writing a song or shooting a music video, I felt like, damn it, and I didn't realize back then, but recently I rewatched the videos related to Run, and all the members, me included, feel like lead roles. We're just running randomly with that feeling, but I realized how natural it was. Even though we were running only because when we were filming, they told us to run. Just as RM remembers, whether consciously or unconsciously, the members' feelings at the time are captured within The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2. I still can't believe it. This all feels like a dream. Don't try to disappear. Will you stop time after this moment passes by? What if this becomes something that never happened? Or I lose you? I'm afraid, afraid, afraid. As in the lyrics of Butterfly from the album, everything seemed like a dream, and the members feared that none of what they had done had ever really happened. Suga reflects, our song, Intro Nevermind, has the lyrics, if you think you're gonna crash, accelerate even more, right? I injured my shoulder on my motorbike, but I still rode it sometimes even after that. Even so, I thought, what if I had accelerated a bit more in the moment of the accident? And that's what those lyrics are about. I don't ride my motorbike anymore, and it's been shoved in stores though. These lyrics of The Most Beautiful Moments in Life Part 2's opening song tell Suga's story, but they also refer to the situation BTS were in at the time. In intro, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life from the previous album, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1, Suga is alone on the basketball court. And in Intro Nevermind, he is standing in a concert arena, cheers resounding. BTS struggled through the release of 4 albums, and with The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1, they were well on the road to success. However, as much as love for them had increased, they were also the target of intense hostility from some, and anti-fans and army were constantly embroiled in offensives and defensives, almost like a war. For BTS to break their way through this reality, they needed to take the stance of, if you think you're gonna crash, accelerate even more. No matter how far I reach for you, it is just an empty dream. No matter how crazy I run, I remain on the same place. Let's run, run, run again. It's okay to fall down. Let's run, run, run again. It's okay to be injured. In the title song, Run, from The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2, while they are afraid in the moment that it is just an empty dream, they shout out, let's run, run, run again. Run, therefore, encapsulates their sense of resolve at the time. In the next song, Butterfly, they are afraid. that you might fly away or fall apart with just a touch, but they still need to push on ahead. Right until the final song, outro House of Cards, BTS express the sense of precariousness, that the slightest touch could cause everything to collapse. Run, meanwhile, portrays the BTS who keep on running ahead despite everything. The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2, and particularly its title song Run, were thus born out of an even more trying process than previous albums Dark and Wild and The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1. It was decided early on what track would be used for Run. The track was so good that Bang Seok and the other producers at Big Hit Entertainment went, "That's the one!" All they needed to do was put a rap and melody over the track. That was also the problem. The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2 was originally supposed to come out in September. However, the album was in fact released on the last day of fall on November 30th, 2015. Now let's continue on to the next section titled Sophomore Jinx. The crux of the chorus for Run consists of two brief repeating melodies. 다시 run, 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 let's run, run, run again, I can't stop running, and only thing I can do is run. This might sound simple to the listener compared to the complex chorus of The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1's title song, I Need You, girl. Sorry, I could not help. However, for top liner Bang Seok, who wrote the chorus for Run, this melody was both incredibly important and a tricky winning move. Now, about the top liner, there's a footnote. Top liner is a creative who makes the central melody and key lyrics. Okay? It's fair to say that this brief melody was a deciding factor in whether BTS would remain where they were with The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1 or head toward a bigger future. As such, The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1 was essentially BTS' sophomore album. Artists whose debut albums had been well received are commonly unable to get a similar response to their follow-up. Ideally, factors that had been successful in the previous work will be incorporated alongside a new style. If this were so easy, however, then Bang Seok, who had already reeled off countless hits before working with BTS, wouldn't have spent more than 2 months agonizing over this brief melody. Perhaps another song similar to I Need You would have gotten a reasonable response. However, as a title song, I Need You stood out in BTS discography at the time, and by repeating that same style, it would be difficult to capture their signature dynamic energy. On the other hand, a style like The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1's Dope, jhope, lacks the deep, dark, and sorrowful emotion of I Need You. Either way, BTS were at risk of limiting their potential, and they could easily have ended up stuck where they were with The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1. This wasn't just about the album's results. For BTS, who had shouted out, "If you think you're gonna crash, accelerate even more," their situation was a complex combination of hardship and expectation, sadness and hope. Within the melody of Run, they needed to capture this complex emotion, as well as the will to keep pressing on. A chorus able to satisfy all these elements would need to be more than just a good melody. The Run we listen to now has plenty of brilliant melodies aside from the chorus. However, in 2015, they couldn't find that melody perfect for the BTS who had just finished work on The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1. They would keep writing new melodies and scrap them, and there were even suggestions to go for a different title song entirely. One melody made it through all these hurdles, and this is what forms the chorus for Run. As in the lyrics, "Let's run, run, run again," the melody focuses solely on the sense of running, without the need for a fast tempo or a great exertion of energy. And then again with the line, "Only thing I can do is run." The melody elevates the emotion a little more, further contributing to that picture of running until breathless. This portrayed the image of BTS. They had to keep on running no matter what the situation, no matter what anyone said. And so, the title song Run was complete. In the Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2's first half, while intro, Nevermind, deals with BTS's attitude in changing circumstances, Run deals with how this attitude will be put into practice. And Butterfly is about BTS' internal anxiety and sadness, which existed both in the real world and within their music videos. The album goes deeper and deeper into the members' inner world, and with Life Pt.2, BTS begin to speak more directly of how they felt following the Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1. In the middle of this vast ocean, a whale speaks in a low and lonesome voice. No matter how much it shouts, it won't reach anyone. Feeling so lonely, it quietly shuts its mouth. Words easily thrown out to me builds a wall in between. Even my loneliness looks fake in your eyes. The world will never know how sad I am. My pain is like water and oil. It can never mix. In Life Pt.2, the members are a whale in the middle of this vast ocean and feel so isolated from people that they say, even my loneliness looks fake in your eyes. The world has no idea how sad I am, and their pain is like water and oil. It can never mix. The group had experienced a certain amount of success. However, their relationship with ARMY aside, they felt in some ways even more isolated than before. It was only after BTS went deep within themselves and came up with the definition of who they were that they could sing facing the outside world, like in My City and Silver Spoon. RM explains how he felt while making The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2. Lots of things were happening, which overlapped with things like our standing at the time, and I think I was trying to hide inside my shell. Even after the release of The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2, BTS were at the center of all sorts of issues, and during that period, RM found a way to reflect on himself. I went around by myself a lot, and for a long time, I would go to Tuksum. I felt calm whenever I went there, and the reason I felt calm was because at night, people went there in groups, but I was alone. No one talked to me, and around me, people ate their chicken, talked about school, about dating. I would sit off to one side and drink beer by myself and feel like I was being comforted. A place like this exists in the world. There's a place where I can feel at ease. The group was doing well, and at the same time, music and what I had made as an individual were being disregarded, and I felt an extreme emotion. That in some ways, everything I had done up until then had been worthless. Looking back on it now, I wonder how I managed to stand it. Now let's continue to read through the next section, titled Growth. The concerns RM and the other BTS members experienced were in fact what brought the Most Beautiful Moment in Life series together. If what they went through, making the Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1, were the growing pains of youths trying to prove themselves, then in the Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2, they were facing the world head on as it watched them. Amid this success and hardship, the members could have new thoughts and experiences of themselves. While working on the Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2's My City, jhope began to open his eyes to the relationship between himself and society. In My City, he depicts his hometown, Gwangju, and wrote these lyrics. Everybody dial 062-518. 62 is Gwangju's area code. 62 is Gwangju's area code, and 518 refers to the May 18th Gwangju democratization movement of 1980. While there are still those online who denigrate the May 18th Gwangju democratization movement and promote regionalism, jhope has pride in his hometown. Through studying up on the history of where he was born, he could reflect on himself. I didn't know much about regionalism. To begin with, I didn't have any feelings of regionalism myself. However, when I came to Seoul, I realized such a thing existed and felt it for the first time. What is this? What is this feeling? Why do I have to hear these things about the place I was born? Why do I have to feel like this? And so I looked up the history. Honestly, I'm still lacking when it comes to that kind of knowledge, but at the time, I found out a lot. While studying, I thought about how I could express this in my work. But it was so interesting. It was like I suddenly felt for the first time, wow, so this is how telling my story and putting my emotions into music feels. Introspection became an opportunity for J-Hope to grow as an artist. During that time, the question of who was I, what kind of person was I, occupied more than half of my brain. Because the choreography for I Need You was so different to the styles I had done in the past, I often wondered what kind of dance I was doing before. So I ended up starting Hope on the Street. Dancing in the training studio in front of the mirror became a time for me to reflect on myself once more. And Hope on the Street later is to become Hope on the Stage, right? Now, back to the text. Hope on the Street consisted of an irregular YouTube feature, as well as occasional live streaming on VLive, and showed J-Hope as he practiced dancing. It was an opportunity for him to communicate with fans through dance. Self-directed concerns turned into a new understanding of his work, and yet another experiment became possible. J-Hope says, "For me, since Dark and Wild, it was like I could hear my voice in the album, and so I think I had a really strong desire to improve quickly to establish my place." For Jimin, too, the concerns and efforts surrounding the event that unfolded after Dark and Wild began to bear fruit after the Most Beautiful Moment in Life series. He reflects, "I learned what parts of me people liked, and how they liked it when I expressed something in a certain way and in a certain body shape. And so I also ended up focusing on maintaining those things. I do that when I sing, and sometimes I find even the movement of my very fingers slowing down, then speeding up. I think I changed a lot in this respect, and I had to make a lot of effort trying to calm myself." By building a relationship between himself and others, and between himself and the world, V was able to refine the ways in which he expressed himself. When acting in music videos and performing on stage as part of the Most Beautiful Moment in Life series, he channeled Colin Firth. At the time, Colin Firth was my role model. I liked his vibe so much, and I wanted to give up that vibe myself. V's approach to his work came out of how he felt about his relationship with the other members. For me, just one look and I can immediately see that they are becoming more amazing as time goes on. If I have no comparison point, my timing ends up slower than the other members. For example, I need something specific, like if there's a singer I really like, thinking I want to be like that singer, or I want to perform on stage like that one day, and only then will I be on fire. If I don't have that, then I really do get a bit slow. That's why the other members get targeted by my ambition. V adds one more thing about the members. I often cried because I felt guilty that I don't want to become a burden to BTS. I was worried that because of me, cracks would form in the heavy and stable wall called BTS. I didn't want to fall behind these perfect people. Oldest Jin and youngest Jungkook were experiencing small yet important changes to their daily life. Jin, who valued work-life balance, had begun to gradually adjust his daily routine after moving accommodations for the first time since their debut in spring 2015. Until then, I didn't really have the time to go out. Even when I was a college student, my friends would ask why I wasn't involved in university life and told me to take part. I wanted to, myself laughs. And so little by little, I started going out more, signed up to a boxing hagwon, and got lessons in the afternoon Then in the middle of the night, I would go and work out. Jungkook talks about his new interest. I started to get a taste for shopping. Until then, I just dressed how I liked. I will dress in my own style, I thought. Then maybe after a while, I got a bit fed up too. And I also got caught while out shopping by the other members. Laughs. This was also a process of finding ways to express himself. Jungkook adds, until then, I would just do as I was told. All I would think was that I needed to do well no matter what, and I didn't have my own values. Then I started to think about what I should do and how I should do it, how I'm supposed to take things, how I came across on the stage while singing. Guess you could call it a skill tree, like in video games. It's similar to that. Once you accomplish one thing, that divides into two branches and divides again into more branches and develops from there. It felt kind of like clearing one level at a time. Jungkook's skill tree led him to dive right into making music. I didn't have even the slightest fear about learning. This was because the Hyungs had done music before, whereas from the start, I couldn't dance, sing, or play instruments well. And then Suga. He looks back on the music he made during that period. Stories about my hopes and dreams always appeared in my songs. Tomorrow, which I had written earlier, was the same. My songs are half about my hopes and dreams. Who will tell these stories if music doesn't? And that music, looking at it now, it's like those are words speaking to me. A few years later, listening to the songs I made back then, I feel comforted. They're like a letter written to my future self. Going on from this, he considers the many people listening to BTS music. At the time, I wasn't really sure why people listened to our music. I couldn't know whether it was because the songs were well made or because the people listening understood the meaning contained in our songs and related to them. But I think I understand now. So that's a very interesting ending because the reason why one listens to BTS music is different, from person to person. And for some people, BTS music literally saved their lives, life-saving. So yeah. Anyways, so let's talk about it. So we read 3 sections. For the first section, Run. Yeah, what stands out in that section is how raw and unsettled the members still felt at the time, even after the success of The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1, HYYH Part 1 album. Like RM described 2015 as a year of constant frustration, full of that moments. And while Suga frames it with his lyric, if you think you're gonna crash, accelerate even more. And the song isn't just about running blindly. The title track, it's about survival. And despite feeling like everything could collapse, BTS chose motion instead of staying still. And that repetition of 다시 run, 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 that line, the word and the phrase embodies that spirit. No matter how fragile, they had to keep going. And also, in the second section that we read, Sophomore Jinx, which covered the pressure of the follow-up, that section reveals the terrifying weight of expectation because BTS had already shaken things up with I Need You, but how do you top that? And according to the book, Bang Hit Hitman Bang agonized over the chorus of Run for months, and I'm pretty sure he agonized along with other members, knowing that it could define whether BTS grew to the next level or stalled. And the melody seems deceptively simple, because it's the repetition of that run, 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 but it also captures exactly what they needed. That feeling of, and the vibe of desperation, persistence, and a sense of breathless motion, and that's the vibe, that's the mood that they were going after. And at the same time, it was also their gamble against the sophomore curse, and the fact that the melody almost didn't exist shows how fragile their trajectory was. And also the last part, what was the title of this section? Growth. Yeah, that part was very fascinating because it shifts from the group's collective battle to each member's personal evolution. So it showed us like the direct quotes of the members. Like jhope, for example, he found meaning in his hometown, Gwangju, and his history with Ma City, the track that I really enjoy. Realizing that music could be a tool to tell his own story, and that's very powerful. And RM described finding comfort sitting alone in Tuksum, watching ordinary people live, needing that calm in the middle of chaos. And Jimin started to understand how fans connected to his voice and movements and refining his artistry. He specifically said that he figured out or was in the process of figuring out what exactly fans like or appreciate in terms of like even like little details of his movements down to the details of his finger movements, which was quite interesting. And like the little gestures, of course, and expressions, facial expressions. And V, on the other hand, he battled guilt about being a burden for the group, but also drew inspiration from role models like who was it, Colin Firth, and at the same time, he also drew inspiration from other members. And that concept of feeling guilt about being afraid of whether he will be a burden to other members, that sentiment is actually shared by other members as well. And that's what's so unique about this group, because each member tries his best, tries so hard that it creates this beautiful synergy and they complete each other. You know what I'm saying? And Jin, he sought balance, like work-life balance, which he appreciates and which he pursues through boxing, hagwon, and daily routine. And while Jungkook explored identity, like building a skill tree, leveling up as an artist. And it's incredible how he said that in the beginning he just didn't know how to sing or play instruments or dance, but then he became a golden maknae who can do everything. And Suga saw his songs as letters to his future self, which is quite powerful, realizing later how they comforted him while comforting other people. So this is where the idea of Hwayeonyeonhwa, the most beautiful moment in life, becomes layered. It's not just youth as a concept, which could be quite a cliche in the industry, but youth as a process of self-definition and pain and growth, which is exactly why the album and the series has become a classic. And we are celebrating the 10th anniversary this year. And that's where we'll stop today. These three sections, I think, it tell the story of that success doesn't erase fear; it only sharpens it. Part one, Hwayeonyeonhwa Part One became a success, but then they had to, try to top that. Yet through the track Run, the struggle with the Sophomore Jinx and their personal journeys, BTS proved that honesty and constant motion and growth were enough to keep them alive as artists, so to say. So let me leave you with some questions, as I always do. Do you think the track Run captures BTS better than I Need You at the time? Or is it the two songs together that tell the full story? And how important do you think personal growth was to BTS, their larger success? Personal growth as individuals, like jhope, how he talked about writing his story through My City, and Jungkook, how he talked about his personal improvement, like a skill tree. How was that personal growth important to BTS, their larger success? And if you were, I don't know, facing your own Sophomore Jinx moment in life, would you play it safe or accelerate even more, like Suga says through his lyrics. So let me know your thoughts by writing comments. And when you do so, let's stay positive, respectful, and classy. Thanks again for joining me for this reading of Beyond the Story. I'll see you again in the next chapter, next sections. Okay? See you guys later. Bye-bye.